Focus on the screen, feeling the flow, so pristine. Boom, as the beats align. Electric dreams, they intertwine.
Welcome back to the next episode of Who the F*** is Frank? My name is Steve Johnston, the current toy expert for History's Pawn Stars and one of the owners of One of Us Comics. To my left, Johnny Jimenez, toy expert original for History's Pawn Stars, the owner of Toy Shack, Alabrijes, one of the owners of Alabrijes down there in Neonopolis, and then, of course, One of Us Comics as well. To my right, student of the game, game day huddle, and just a guy that knows something about everything. We'll call him a vast almanac, a useless knowledge. His name is Brett Lawson. Joins us today.
Emphasis on the useless, too.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. And you guys, anytime I could kind of tag in for Paul, it's always a delight. So thank you, Paul, for being, via satellite once more.
Well, and speaking of Mr. Paul Vato is in Chicago for the restaurant show. Once again, coming from an undisclosed location and somewhere else. Paul made himself look much better today as he brought a guest on, and Mrs. Caroline Summers, could be Bologna, could be Bowman, who knows? That could be the last name. It's one of those three. Take a shot. But Caroline is with us. And then at Bakersfield, California, the Comiccon.com senior editor. And I'll tell you what, this guy works incredibly hard for this show. Mr. Brendan Allen joins us. We got a full guest slate and amount of people here today, guys. Welcome in to this week's episode. How's everybody doing? What's going on in your worlds? Let's start with Paul since he's on location. Paul, what's going on out there? What are you doing this time?
I am at the at McCormick Place. Remember the place you kind of crapped on a while back? I'm at McCormick Place at the International Restaurant Show. Maybe I'll introduce you to my little brother as well. We'll see how many people we can fit back here. We're Latino, so we're used to it. We can cram a lot of people in a small space. My words, not hers. And right now I'm representing a company called Churchill. Just kidding, not really representing them. But I'm here trying to find more products for Johnny for Alabrijes restaurant. We've got some great branded glassware. We've got some amazing products that I would love to see at Alabrijes and at Binion's Casino and at Circa and all that. And I met Caroline Nelson, which if we end up getting married, I'm actually going to take her name, just a full disclosure. And then she shows me that she does cosplay for a good cause. And I believe there's also an organization in Las Vegas that also does that. So she was telling me about it. So I thought maybe she could tell you guys about it. But also don't forget, there's still Parse rum. There's the Vato coin. There's the Kama Susia, my book, the Kama Susia. So I'm still promoting all those things. But now I'm also promoting Churchill Container with my new partner here in business, Caroline Nelson.
Well, welcome, Caroline. We're happy to have you on. So your group, let's set this up because I think it's important for people to understand. So there's a lot of cosplayers out there that just do it for the fun, the fandom, the enjoyment of what cosplay really is. But in our world, if you're good at cosplay, you almost get recruited from a charitable group that goes out, does hospital visits, does business, local pop culture related business, meets. Engages the community, does stuff within the community, whether it's minor league sports team appearances or whatever it might be. These groups go out, but really their presence is to put smiles on kids' faces that are maybe having a little bit of a tougher time. So you mentioned the group that we work with the most here in Las Vegas is Critical Care Comics. They do an incredible job. We have a great relationship with them. In fact, they were at the Front Row Card Show this weekend. Shout out to Michael. Happy birthday, by the way. One of the top guys. He actually just got nominated in the 30 Under 30, too, which was really cool. It was really neat to see. But tell us a little bit about what your organization does exactly, Caroline, and then, where you're founded out of. Are you founded out of Chicago or another city? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we are the Just Us League Corp. We are based out of Kansas City metro area. So we do specifically DC and Marvel cosplays. We work with local charities. We've been around for about 9 years, but officially a 501c3 since 22. And so we've mostly focused on helping other charities locally, attending their events to spread cheer and awareness, doing hospital visits. We usually do one big trip each year out of state. So we've worked with Ronald McDonald House in Amarillo. We've gone to Children's Hospital in Arkansas, Omaha. This year we're actually doing 2 trips because Arkansas Hospital asked us to come back. And we are going to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because we were supposed to go there in 2020, but then because of COVID and everything else, obviously put that on hold. So, but now that we're starting to really gain some traction and everything else, we are using Critical Care as kind of some mentors for us and a model. So they do a lot of work with donating comics to the children's hospitals. We are working on a coloring book program. So essentially, this is all brand new, but we're going to be having submissions of coloring book pages and then original comic artwork. And they will be judged by a local comic artist. And the winner will get a mentoring session and then ideally a scholarship as well. So then all the coloring book pages will go into the book, and that's what we will be handing out at our hospital visits. We're going to be working with Children's Mercy locally as well, and hopefully doing more regular visits like what Critical Care does in addition to our out-of-state visits.
No, that's great.
That's really cool. We did a bunch of stuff with the 501st, and the 501st brings the Rebels, and they bring the Droids. And there's also an organization in New York that's Ghostbusters, and there was one that was Cosplay for a Cause, and it was Cosplay CAUSE Play. And these guys were doing. There was a kid, he was a Make-A-Wish kid, and they made a Vecna cosplay for this kid. It was a 9-year-old in a wheelchair, and it's one of the best panels that I've ever been at, because they were talking about all the different the ways that disabled kids and kids with sensory issues and stuff could get into cosplay by doing Velcro instead of zippers and things like that. Just being aware of like how quickly you can get out of an outfit, how easy it is to put on. Can they put it on unassisted? Will it fit over their wheelchair? That kind of stuff. So I really love that cosplayers are able to do their own thing, but they're also this group that does so many charitable things, and we're seeing it more and more. 501st is huge. If you have any kind of charitable thing going on, you can call them, and they will get all of the Star Wars cosplayers to come out to your event, which is a pretty cool thing. So I appreciate what you do, and I'm glad to see that Chicago has this going on, Bakersfield has it going on, Los Angeles, New York, everywhere we go, there is some organization that is reaching out to different groups that need some help, either raising funds, raising awareness, or even just getting the kids who have special needs into their favorite characters. So good on you.
Well, and I love the fact that, Caroline, that, what you do, that, as soon as Brendan started bringing up the story of things, it just reminds me like the impact that you guys can have on these kids and the things that happen, the stories that come from it. One, I'll tell you, this is a Critical Care story, and this is one that it was really close to home for me. There's a kid named Brady. He was 9 years old. He was diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and he was told, this was just before The Force Awakens came out, he was told that he had less than 30 days to live. And that would have actually not allowed him to see The Force Awakens. He was a big Star Wars fan. So Friends at Critical Care worked with the local Star Wars cosplay group and myself, this is one of the times that they delved out of their range, and this is why I love this story, is because they worked with me as well as with the Star Wars cosplay groups, and we did the big premiere for the movie, and we tried to get Lucasfilm to actually allow us to show the film early to the kid. And Lucasfilm shut it down. They wouldn't do it. No matter how hard we tried, they would not, there's keys. People don't know this now. When you get your movies at the movie theater, they have a key they have to punch in to unlock the ability to be able to show it. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that early, right? It won't work until a certain time. So we couldn't do that. So we were all hopeful. And we were able to get Brady to the day. So he was actually able to attend the premiere. But these groups worked with them and our friends at Zappos. And we created an event, and we did this because as important as it is for the children to have the experience, in those types of circumstances, sometimes it's as important for the family, right? And we wanted Dad to also have an experience too. So we picked the kid up. We took him to Chuck E. Cheese. He had a private Chuck E. Cheese experience. He played video games with Luke Skywalker. Then they brought him over to the Palms, which is where we held the event. At the Palms, he was greeted by Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers. Now, in the casino world, they do not allow you to wear masks at all. Yeah. They don't care who you are, right? Yeah. They let us put them in cosplay for this and let them parade him through the casino. So they brought him in. We did a red carpet. We had vendors out. We had artists out. And then he came through, and Zappos hired paparazzi. So they paparazzi'd him. They were taking photos of him from like the windows of the Chuck E. Cheese. They were taking pictures of him on this whole parade. They followed him and were taking his pictures on the red carpet. And then we waltzed him into the theater, in which he walked in to a full theater. Everybody that was there was either in cosplay or wearing Star Wars attire, right? Most of it was this Zappos employees and then a bunch of the cosplay groups and stuff that were there. And he walked in and there was 2 8-foot tables, taller than the kid was, piled with toys, comics, games, whatever it was from all of our partners and Zappos who donated. Zappos donated $10,000 to the experience to allow all of this to happen and everything. But I could not have done this without working with the community partners like you, like the groups here in Vegas. We had over 40 dressed cosplayers for this event. It was incredible. It's one of those experiences that I'll never forget. And the final thing I'll mention was Zappos took a videographer as part of the whole thing and did video of the entire experience. They provided it to his father. Brady passed away 6 days after the event. So to see that experience and know that Dad has that, and that's something that, long term he was going to have. This is the impact that people like Caroline have in their communities that they work in. So I tip my cap to you because it goes unappreciated. You don't get a lot of applause. You get thank yous in the moment, but no one ever talks to you about how expensive your Captain Marvel suit is. No one ever talks to you about the little intricate detail things that are on there. So what you do, definitely keep going. And you mentioned your comic book, and I'll only mention this. I'm going to reach out to our friend Fireball Tim, and I'm going to see if Tim will, if Fireball will go ahead and give us a couple of pages for your comic book. He does comic books, and he is a, you might not know who he is, but he designed the '89 Batmobile, the Michael Keaton Batmobile. He's that guy. So he is connected in that world, and so I'm sure that he would be willing to provide something really cool for you. So Paul, make sure that you exchange my information with her, please, so that way she has it. Caroline, reach out, and we will work on making that happen for you.
Oh, my God.
Thank you so much.
No,
That's
absolutely.
fantastic.
No, it's great. And Johnny, I know you love the cosplay world.
Oh, yeah. I'm big into that. I don't dress up myself, but I love going to the events and engaging with all the great costumes and people that come through.
We keep trying to get Johnny to dress up. We do. Paul dresses up, but we won't talk about how Paul dresses up.
And it's also cool, kind of what Brendan was
I'm not
alluding
going to
to.
do anything for charity. I have an appearance fee, and I expect that to be paid. So, I don't do any charity work, guys. I've already given enough of my
Paul
time
Vato,
away
bottom line
show.
always. Yes. But no, kind of like what Brennan was saying, especially with the 501st. That's what's really cool because I had never seen them before really the first time I met you, Steve, working a convention about 3-4 years ago. And that was awesome because I'd only seen like YouTube clips and social media clips. When you see it in full force and you really see how many different various characters show up and how authentic the costumes are, and then the interaction on top of it. You know, I think a lot of times these cosplayers get a bad rap. Is kind of like the joke is that they don't really want to do it. They're kind of just going through the motions. That wasn't the impression that I got. It looked like everyone there in the Stormtrooper uniforms, in the Clone Trooper uniforms, even the ones, you know, with the astromech droids, rolling them around with the remote controls. Everyone looked thrilled to be there. And that was what was so cool because seeing it and experiencing it firsthand, that's fun for, you know, me as a fan, but then realizing that they're immersing themselves in it too. You know, that's everyone wants the authenticity in that way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, imagine a young 8, 10,
100%.
12-year-old just being in that world and seeing all these characters.
Oh, it's like you're smack
walking right
dab
by them.
dropped into it.
My kid talked on the way to school this morning. My kid talked to me about, you know, this Roblox version of a game that he's playing right now or whatever it is, and he's telling me like, this is what I need to get the cosplay for this, Dad. Like I want to go to like a gaming show and wear it so people see it. And you know, as a father, that's exciting. That's cool. The kid wants to get engaged in the hobby, the community. Now, Caroline, I think something that's very important that most people don't realize, like you have a regular job or you have what you do, you know, in your, you know, personal life, and you're welcome to share that. But I don't think people realize how much time you invest into this. Give people an insight as to how much time you invest into what is truly just charitable work.
It's quite a bit. So I'm on our executive board, and so there's 3 of us on that board. We also have a board of directors. Between all of us, it's very easy for us to put anywhere between 4 to 10 hours every week on top of jobs, which, I mean, personally, I've got 2 jobs, and then I do this on top of that. We have also had to cap some of the total number of events we do every year. We end roughly about 40 to 50 events a year, and our season runs from March to December. Currently, we are planning a parade for a kid named Jason. He has leukemia in one of the suburbs of Kansas City. So we are actually working with the 501st. We're also working with the 405th, if you guys haven't heard of them. They are the Halo cosplay group. Yep. I'm also in part of them, but just for fun and not leadership. Also fantastic people. They have a tier system very much like we do and the 501st do to, again, ensure that the cosplays are to a level where, I mean, the kids are really going to believe that we stepped out of the video game or we stepped out of the TV. And so we're putting on this parade for Jason, and he is going to be riding on the fire truck. We're going to have local car groups and everything else. And the mayor will be presenting a key of the city to him to donate or dedicate the day to him.
No, that's great. And this is the stuff that these, you know, people put in. So look, we tip our cap and we thank you for the time that you invest into, you know, what you do. And it's cool to be at a restaurant show, meet Paul, and then fall right into the world of cosplay and pop culture and everything that you know, the worlds that we live in over here. So that's great. And again, we thank you for joining us and everything. Here in just a couple of minutes, guys, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about some of the upcoming shows. Also, there's a big conversation behind Diamond Select Toys. Imagine us talking about a company that decided to bankrupt itself 27 times over. We're going to talk about them 28th time. But we'll be right back after the break. This is Hoop Lucas Frank on GoLiveVegas, Spotify, and everywhere you get your content.
Stop the dash, feel the thrill, chase the legends with dreams fulfill. In the game, where the story goes, it's all here again in these sports, unleash wind, fuel the fire and let the flame begin. And these monsters ignite your flame, every clock, every dream, every game.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum, in print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
Come on down to the good old bar. Craft beer's never too far. Like do every night. Do what through and get it right. Raise the glass, raise the beer hat. The booze, friends are near. Dance around, let them play. Voodoo Bar's a place to stay.
GoLiveVegas Studios, a unique multi-camera social media virtual content creators paradise. We offer high-end services using live streaming and film production for your personal or corporate, commercial or event and campaign needs. Pre-record or live stream to your audience on multiple social media platforms simultaneously. Fun and interactive with social media comments, phone lines, live remotes, audio Foley sounds, and Snapchat filters. Be creative, get recognized, and make money. We help you by providing an all in-house production team. Visit our website at GoLive.Vegas.
That's right, we're back. We are back, and we are rolling. Who the is Frank right here? This segment presented by our friends at Voodoo Brewery here in Las Vegas, downtown Las Vegas. Make sure you stop by, check them out. They have a great slate of programming over there, great craft beers, cocktails, and, of course, very fun outdoor experience. It's a great time of year in Vegas. I mean, driving here was 73 this morning on the way here. It's been beautiful in Vegas over the weekend. Got some winds, but I mean, that's going to happen here. But outside of that, the weather's been really nice over the last, 6-7 days. And had some great experiences. Also, this segment is supported by Alebrijes, the new found restaurant in the Neonopolis, downtown Las Vegas, Fremont Street experience, right upstairs above the Toy Shack. Alebrijes, we were there for a birthday on Friday night. And again, I mean, I've now been, how many times have I been there? 6, 7, 8 times. The food is the same every single time. The experience is the same every single time. The attention from the staff is the same every single time. Chef makes himself seen and aware and talks to people every single time. I think I have a pretty good understanding of how that place is going to be ran and operated because it is the same every single time. And in
Consistency.
food, consistency is key. So, again, if you guys get a chance, Alebrijes, Fremont Street, Neonopolis, 450 East Fremont. Make sure you guys stop by. Ask to see Chef Paco and tell him that the guys from Who the Frank sent you. And I would love to see you there.
Yeah, beautiful place, balcony, the drinks. It's off the hook. Now, and I'm spoiled because it's upstairs from Toy Shack, so I get to have lunch and dinner whenever I want up there. So I love it.
Now, Paul, your invitation to go to lunch at Alebrijes with Johnny, that is in the mail. The problem is,
I think it expired though.
I think he sent it to when you were in Van Nuys.
Yeah, there was an
So then it kicked back. So then he's tried to send it somewhere else. It might be on its way to Chicago now. I don't know, but I'm sure there's an invitation kicking around the mail somewhere.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? I'm waiting for that invitation. Yeah, I've been waiting, and I'm pretty upset that I haven't gotten it yet. But that's okay. I'm at the restaurant show, so I'm hoping somebody will bring me here some, fish sticks or some pizza or something, because I am getting a little hungry here.
Why do fish sticks get top billing over pizza?
That's
weird. That's what I want to know, right?
Yes.
You know what, though? This is karmic because I was really hungry at a show a while back, and I remember you promising to bring tacos all damn day, and you didn't show up for 7 or 8 hours.
Brutal.
Yeah, that was my fault. I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah. He was like, "Where the F is Paul?" all day.
You know what's funny about that is that this is the first time that Paul actually admitted to what happened that day. He's come up with 77 things, like what it was. But today was actually like, I just didn't get out of bed. Like he finally told the truth.
It.
Like I think he's tired of Brendan calling him out on it, which is great.
The narratives got too disjointed, just ripping the Band-Aid.
Well, and calling people out, that's kind of a narrative for the show, right? We have a tendency to do that. And we want to call out our friends at Diamond Distribution and Diamond Select Toys in particular. Now, I had an experience. I did at the 2019 Star Wars Celebration. I did an endorsement thing with Diamond Select. for a Darth Maul statue that they put out at the show that was, super limited. And so I did a whole little video endorsement thing and went over and shook some hands and was in their booth for a little bit. And at the time, they really seemed like they had like the right people in line for Diamond Select Toys to like take it to the next level. Everybody I talked to had a really good open mindset. Everyone seemed great. And this was like Friday of the show, right? That I did this. And then on Saturday, I got invited over to Hasbro. And I realized that Diamond Select was way behind and didn't know what they were doing. Because when I started talking with the guys at Hasbro, you could just see a difference in how they saw the business and how they saw things being released and how they saw their attention to detail and how they saw these things. And I was like, Diamond Select does a really nice job. It's great for comic shops to have an easy access to acquire some type of the relevant action figures, right? Because that was kind of the big deal, was that most comic shops could be able to account for those. But now, and I'm going to turn this over to Brendan because he's got a lot more information on this, but Diamond Select might be no more. What's going on there, Brendan?
Well, it's Bleeding Cool, and you got to take that with a grain of salt because Bleeding Cool is off doing Bleeding Cool things. They're kind of the weekly world news of the comics industry. They'll run with they'll run with anything. But this story is that Diamond Select Toys might be getting shut down by the company that bought them, which is Ad Populum. And they're basing that off of, some layoffs and things that happen. Anytime you have a merger, there's always going to be some redundancy. You're going to let some people go. But what it kind of looks like is they might have just purchased Diamond Select Toys to get the licenses. If you look at the licenses that they currently have, they've got All Elite Wrestling, they've got Berserker, Cobra Kai. The big ones are DC, Disney, Dungeons & Dragons. Godzilla is huge right now. Marvel, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Walking Dead. The thing is they've got all these licenses, and Ad Populum already has NECA, so it's kind of looking like they might have gotten it just to take over those licenses. But they've got a quote from Mark Herr where he's basically saying, yesterday, new owners took ownership of the company. I spent many years helping build. Yesterday, the restructuring began. They aren't putting press releases or anything out as to who was let go, but it's industry websites, social media, and direct questions to the people that I can ask. He's been gone from the company for 16 years, but he's saying that he has connections and this is what's happening. So there's a lot of speculation that's going on, but it kind of looks like that's the situation. The Diamond Select Toys is kind of being dismantled for its parts.
Johnny, you and I were talking about this a little bit, and we were kind of discussing on like who could get that. It didn't even dawn on me that they own NECA, but that changes 100% my thought process right here on the fact that if those licenses that are owned, because most people don't know on the Diamond Select action figure lines, right? They're a 7-inch figure, and the way licensing works is you do your licensing agreement. Like Hasbro has Star Wars, Marvel, a couple other lines, all at 6-inch, right? And the 6-inch scale kind of became like the premium action figure, right? And then Diamond Select went out and they wanted to do, they couldn't do 6-inch because the license owned by Hasbro. So they did 7-inch. And the 7-inch is what McFarlane Toys scales the DC line, Spawn, and a bunch of their action figure lines in. So it's kind of funny how these licensings work. So for you look, Hasbro's locked down in the 6-inch market. You have a brand that does really well in the 6 and 7-inch with NECA, and now you acquire all these licenses. This actually could be very good for the hobby.
Yeah, I can see that.
And with them taking NECA coming in and scaling stuff, and again, Brett, I don't know how much you've gotten into the toy manufacturers, but NECA toys always come with a ton of accessories, multiple heads, a lot of times alternate hands, great posability, awesome backdrops,
right?
All of these things that support those lines. But now you get all of those licenses that Brendan was just reading off.
Because it seems egregious, right? And it's almost like you would know better than I, but like how often does like an element of one-upsmanship almost come into play? Even if it's not intentional, even if like it's the consumer who winds up taking it to that level, can that be potentially a factor when these type of things arise?
Well, with the NECA guys, you know how it is with the NECA toys. The guys talk about the quality all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten better and better. The posability, the paints have always been really good, and then the accessories just that's probably my favorite thing. The hands, the weapons, all the extra stuff, and then there are open window boxes, which I think to me, for a collector, I like the feel of that. You have it when you post your stuff up. You have a nice artwork in the front, but then you have a window, and I don't know. I just I love everything that they do.
Right.
I think this really has a chance to win. And Brendan, you know, in this world that we're in, if you have a company like NECA that's quality and then all of a sudden acquires the ability to create so much more, this seems like one of those steps. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Is NECA publicly traded? Because if it is, I think it's time to buy. Because if they come out and announce, say, a year and a half down the road, a new Marvel line that's 7 inches, that's done by the NECA design teams, and stuff like that, I could see them have a massive boom. But you've seen this in the industry, Brendan. Kind of, what are your thoughts here? Do you think this will end up being a NECA thing? Do you think it'll be a different brand? What do you think they'll sell off? What do you think they'll do?
Well, I think it's a smart play. Well, to answer your question, NECA is privately held. I just looked that up. But it's one of those things where, you know, they're going to take the parts that they want, and then the other stuff, you know, the not so big selling stuff like Gem and the Holograms. I don't think anybody's really jumping for that collector market right now. But I think they're stripping it for what they want, and then they're going to sell off the other pieces. But you know, it's going to be one of those things where NECA is going to grow bigger, and you've already got kind of a stranglehold on, you know, their niche right there, and now they're expanding it a little bit. So they get a little bit bigger. The toys get a little bit better. I don't know what it's going to do for the price points. You guys could probably answer that better. But I think that some of these toys are going to get better, and the ones that they just don't care about, somebody else is going to take on, and maybe they make them better. But there's an opportunity for some of the smaller companies to take on some of the smaller licenses and build their portfolios a little bit more, some of the products that they're offering. But I think it's good for NECA. It was a smart move on their part to do it this way. But you know, I always believe that competition is good for the industry, and so I'm sad to see one part of it go away, but hopefully it works out for everybody in the end.
I'm trying to look at this list of the, you know, licenses that they're acquiring from this, right? And I mean, outside of, I don't know, Toy Sapiens, maybe Tron, I don't know that many of these licenses they would let go of. There's such a quality run here. Like, talk about the secondary tier that's on this licensing list, right? Berserker, which that comic book line, because it's tied and it's going to have a movie coming out, that one's definitely not going anywhere. Yeah. Right? Dungeons and Dragons is on an upscale right now, right? So I don't see that happening. Gargoyles,
but like
maybe could be one.
Cobra Kai is doing its final season coming up here, or it just did its final season. It's not going to be in the news cycle for much longer. That one's not. It's not going to go out. I don't see that being made, you know, a year or 2 years down the line.
Well, and NECA's not going to, because they own all the Karate Kid licenses with NECA, so they'll have everything, right? So that they can just continue to live. They like to do versus stuff. They'll do, you know.
Yeah, they did a Ninja Turtles, Cobra Kai thing for a little bit.
Exactly, like, and they'll be able to do all these crossover
stuff. Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
You know, and some of these licenses that they're holding that they could like relive, Gem and the Holograms. This is about the time period where you start to see like some reintroductions and anniversaries of things and stuff. So I don't know, you would let that go.
Commemoration.
So really, there's a handful of figures and lines here that I could see maybe The Walking Dead, they would like let McFarlane go ahead and acquire that scale too. I don't know, you know, but when you look at it and you think, you know, they got DC locked up there, they would have Marvel at 7-inch, they would have you know, a bunch of these other ones, and it also depends on what the licenses are scaled to, right? Because when I say Diamond Select Toys, doesn't necessarily mean that everything they did was 7-inch scaled. It's just they had licensing on big properties, major properties at the 7-inch scale, right? I'll tell you this, the number one on the list that I look at that I think could really, really benefit from this is the Nightmare Before Christmas line.
Yeah, that's a big one. And then, too, for NECA, always the big ones were all their horror stuff was great. Predator, Alien, all that stuff was hot. And I can imagine all these other ones adding to that. Yeah,
Godzilla probably, Monster, Kaiju.
Yeah, that'd be
because now you cross all those in and get all that stuff. Paul, real quick, you got 10 seconds to pitch your new pitch. Go.
Yeah, I'm a new spokesperson for Bonta Divina, which is wild bears and cream parfait dessert. You got to keep it refrigerated or frozen. I just got a sample here. People are just bringing me stuff. So I'm going to try this, and I'll let you guys know. But I am their new spokesperson. Just an
He said he's the new
FYI.
spokesperson. He just saw the product for the very first time 10 seconds ago.
And
They
read,
had-
I haven't even tried it yet, but I love it.
read the name for the first time. I love
They
it.
had
It's
no idea
delicious.
what they just got.
Yeah.
And I'm using a recyclable spoon by World Centric to eat it with.
What kind of
It's
chair are you
also-
sitting in, Paul?
What kind of what?
What kind of chair are you sitting in? What's the name brand of the table that you're at?
Plug away.
I need to know.
Charities? I don't do charities. The Paul Vato charity.
Chair.
is,
What chair?
Oh,
Paul Vato is on brand.
He does strawberries only.
Paul is on brand. This is interesting. We will see where this goes, guys. I think that this type of news is always good for the toy space and for the hobby, right? And especially when you've got a brand that could like really reinvigorate something, because the Diamond Select toys were cool, but they're not the number one bought action figure lines of their kind.
No, they've scaled back. I mean, they started off before they were
so
really
strong.
they were really good, and then now when you open it, I mean, they look good in the box, but dude, when you pull the figures out, they're not as great as they were.
It's funny. It sounds like you just described Paul Vato, like verbatim.
To a T.
So
bastards.
Coming up this weekend, guys, the FC Lights here in Las Vegas, the soccer club, is doing a pop culture event, and One of Us Comics will be set up at it along with some other area vendors and participating in the game. So we'll be out there on Saturday night. So if you're in the Las Vegas area, you want to come out, check out some cards and pop culture stuff, you can come on down to Cashman Field there and Cashman Center, and you can see the FC Lights game, and you can also get involved with the vendors and everything that's going on there. Should be a lot of fun. Shout out to our friends at Rock Solid Productions for putting that together and making that happen, and we're excited to do that. And then I came back for the Front Row Card Show this weekend. It was an interesting weekend.
Yeah, we had EDC weekend, so it sucked all the people out of Vegas.
Yep.
Well, and what's funny is it sucked them out of Vegas. It took them to EDC, but then one of the two major locations, and this is why I was bringing this up, and I'm glad you said that. So they have where you can go to an area and then take buses, right?
Yeah.
The World Market Center, right?
Shuttle.
And World Market
Yeah.
was big for this, right? And World Market, when I went by, they had like 200 buses in the lot. Like it was
wild,
crazy,
yeah.
right? The Rio East parking lot was the other location for this.
Mm-hmm.
So they took 90% of the parking for EDC travel. There was nowhere for people to park, so everyone was then having to try to park in the garages and all of this, whereas they naturally, for this show at the Rio, would park in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Dude, there's always like 1 million parking spaces at the Rio.
Always. Always. And there was no parking. And when I pulled in on Saturday morning,
Wow.
there was 2,000 EDC attendees everywhere in the parking lot walking around. Paul, assless chaps galore for you.
Paul and assless chaps, I don't want to see that.
It was absolutely crazy. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and I got to thinking though, and I'm like, you know what? As crazy as this is, I wonder if this is going to trickle over.
Yeah.
So VIPs for Front Row, normally when they open, the show is very busy from the launch of the VIP hour, right? And the VIPs came in, and we kind of were looking at each other and going this is kind of a light VIP crowd for them. Don't get me wrong. They had a line, and it was good. And I think the expansion of the show floor there probably doesn't help with that. You keep expanding your show floor at the same number of VIP attendees. Obviously, it's just going to feel a little lesser.
Yep.
But I said, watch what happens at about 12 o'clock. Not 11 when the general doors open and the general admission card collector comes in.
Give it a little room to breathe.
Right?
Yeah.
Watch about 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
From 12 till 4:30, you couldn't hardly move in that place. And I'm going to tell you right now, I would say 30% of the people that were in there attended EDC. So as much as that seemed like that could hurt this show, I actually think it incredibly helped to where Sunday, the same thing. It was steady until 4 o'clock on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like even WrestleMania and the Super Bowl out here. Everything else that was in proximity to those events was on the uptick. It was immediately helped, and they reap the benefit in some way, shape, or form, whether it be attendance, whether it be food and beverage, whether it just be overall buzz and energy that brings more eyeballs and more attention to it.
I'll tell you, though,
they directly profited off
If this was across the street at the Palms, and that was kind of like a host hotel and a travel hotel and all that stuff, you wouldn't have saw the impact from it that you did. Because Johnny brought up a very good point, and he can point this out from years of Toy Shack and tourists, right? Because that's, 70% of his business is probably tourists.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you look at that, Johnny, what happens on EDC week compared to other events coming to town?
So EDC, it's that crowd, it's a younger crowd, but that crowd is not a beer crowd. They're not a restaurant crowd.
Yeah.
They're not even, I think, you're spending so much just in transportation for your tickets, your hotel. And even in the hotel, they're probably packing it 4 to 6 people per room. So, as far as extra money and supporting anything else that's going on in Vegas, even on the gambling side. And that's what happened originally when they first came to Vegas. All the hotels were like, F these people. We're going to raise the rooms to like $400, $500, $600 a night. And then they were surprised that these kids were still paying for those high dollar rooms because they were putting so many people in the same room that it was like, okay, we'll just 6 people. That's just $100 each a night, and then so I think, and then they continue to keep those room rates high, which scares everybody else off. And you do have over 100, 150,000 people coming into Vegas that weekend, but they're all going to the Speedway.
And that's what's so interesting because that's why it's different. I know I mentioned WrestleMania and the Super Bowl as far as how the proximity, the rub helps, but the key difference there is that we probably are familiar with it, especially being located in Vegas, but EDC, you have to equate something to more of the lines of Coachella. It's a festival as opposed to an event. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something that people, as far as the demographic and the taste in music may be different, but the aspect of a collective wave of people there for multiple days as opposed to a 3-hour event where you're going into a venue, just watching a game and then coming home. That's a much different vibe. Like anyone who's going to a sporting event, a football game, a basketball game, hockey game, a professional wrestling show, it's a much different immediate time frame in your mind. A festival, you are coming for the festival for multiple days, and everything based off the grounds of the festival is the event. It's not necessarily the spectatorship. The spectatorship you decipher for yourself at your own discretion once you are actually there on the festival grounds. Until that point, it's pretty much just actually getting on the festival grounds as opposed to filling out a venue.
Yeah, and I think Coachella is a little higher level customer. I think they're still doing the wine and the restaurants.
And the demographic is much different. Yeah,
but it's it's always kind of oh damn, it's EDC, so it's just
it's a cultural thing as opposed to it's its own demographic where sports fans is a much broader demographic. You have the sub demographics in sports fan, which are the actual fan bases. For something like EDC, it's more about people kind of all immersing themselves into this collective event, but it's not just one singular event as much as it's a hub of events.
Yeah.
No, and it definitely impacts the infrastructure of Las Vegas for sure with the travel and getting around and everything. And you tackle that on top of the fact that Las Vegas is in the middle of 3 big construction projects on the freeway, and it created quite a nightmare.
Yeah.
Where normally it doesn't trickle into the 15 parallel to the Strip.
Yeah.
You normally don't see it as much there until you get, going north of Spaghetti Bowl. But this year you felt it as far back as Tropicana because of the exits being kind of mixed up and done and all this stuff and everything.
Yeah.
Paul's back to pitch another item. Go ahead, Paul. Chicago
ready.
Cubs making an appearance.
I am coming to you live from the International Restaurant Show, and the people at Churchill Containers have been so kind to provide a set for me that I at least wanted to show you what they have, and I expect orders from Alebrijes. I expect orders from The Nerd, from Voodoo Brewing, all these places. I want to order. Look at this. So obviously this is branded with my favorite team in sports, the Chicago Cubs. It's got a lid for those of you that drink, but more importantly, look at this backup. There's a backup carafe. You just pop this on top, and now you can walk around with a carafe, drinking your drink and then refilling as you need it. And also fancier plasticware. I think this is from Texas, from the
Tennessee,
team called
but close.
Tetas.
Yeah. Completely wrong
This is from
sport and location, but that's okay.
The Tejas Titans.
But I will tell you, no, that was a very good
The
segment.
Tejas
Real
Tatas.
quick,
That's
I
right.
want to bring that up because it was good. The NFL released their schedule this week, and a lot of the teams had really good videos on their schedule release. So if you get a chance to do it, but go look at what the Tennessee Titans did.
Yeah.
They did a person on the street thing. And they showed the logos of the different NFL teams and had that person tell you what team that was.
It's the best.
And it was so good. And then at the very end, the Tennessee Titans, which is what that was, they actually had those same people. They showed them the Tennessee Titans logo.
Yeah.
And they all got it right because that's their team in Tennessee.
Their backyard.
But outside of Tennessee, they know nothing about any of the other sports. Was pretty funny. Was done very, very well. Anyways, I think that's good. But Churchill, that looks like pretty cool. And I like that that half yard and craft concept. Now, what Paul's talking about, that could be an Alabrijes thing. Oh, the donkeys.
Oh,
The donkeys. These donkeys, I think they're from
that's
they're
my
called
team.
Broncos.
Yeah, that's the donkeys.
But check this out.
Denver Donkeys.
The Denver Donkeys. But look, it's like a football. You're drinking out of a football.
That's pretty
Or if you
cool.
want to drink out of a candle holder, we got this.
You know what I love about when you do this, Paul? Paul, you know what I love about this? And again, Churchill Containers, guys, go ahead and support them. Pick some stuff up from
Churchill
them.
Containers.
Being very hospitable to Paul Vato there. I actually, when you go and you do this, I always pay attention to Brendan. And Brendan is so just checked out right now. He's completely checked out.
That hard out is coming quick.
Brendan is always horrified about my promotional pitches. I have the owner of Churchill Containers back. All right, maybe not the owner. And look what she gave me: a Taylor Swift, the eras tour. Cup.
I'm surprised you don't already have that, Paul.
Yeah.
That's
a couple of them.
That's for sure. That would have been my take, right? Because it definitely would have had Taylor Swift. He would also take anything BTS that you have. He'll take anything that you have of them.
That.
Yeah, he'll take that as well. That's right up his alley. For sure. No, the stuff is great, and that's really cool. We are going to go to a break, guys, but when we come back, we are going to talk about the new comic books of the week. Also, Frank reached out to me today, but we'll get to that. Right now, this is It's Frank on GoLiveVegas, and where you get your content, Spotify.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
Stop the dash, feel the thrill, chase the legends with dreams fulfill. In the game, where you surrender, it's all here again in esports, unleash wind, fuel the fire, let the flame begin. And this monster, ignite your flame, every path, every dream, every game. Come on down to the little bar. Craft beer is never too far. Like do every night. Do what through and get it right. Raise the glass, raise the dew hat. The food, the friends are near. Dance around, let them play. Voodoo Boys, a place to stay.
Vegas Studios, a unique multi-camera social media virtual content creators paradise. We offer high-end services using live streaming and film production for your personal or corporate, commercial or event and campaign needs. Pre-record or live stream to your audience on multiple social media platforms simultaneously. Fun and interactive with social media comments, phone lines, live remotes, audio Foley sounds, and Snapchat filters. Be creative, get recognized, and make money. We help you by providing an all in-house production team. Visit our website at GoLive.Vegas.
All right, welcome back to It's Frank here on GoLiveVegas, Spotify, and wherever you get your content from. One of Us Comics on YouTube. Make sure you go there, subscribe and follow. 60-Day Comic Shop on there, as well as It's Frank. We have been working behind the scenes to really get things moving and shaking here. I am actually working on some guests in the upcoming weeks, so hopefully we'll have a couple of guests coming in from the industry. And one that I actually kind of triggered today, I'm gonna see if I can get one of my friends from NECA on. So we'll see what we can do there. I think that would be great to bring NECA toys on. Now, if I bring him on, the reason we want to bring him on is because he's cash only. It's actually one of the designers from NECA that I met. I met him at Comic-Con, and NECA was doing a thing where they were only taking cash for a meet and greet that they were doing at their booth. And he stood there for 2.5 hours and just kept yelling, cash only, cash only. So I kept messing with him and everything. And then we actually became like kind of friendly. And so it's pretty cool. So we'll see if we can pull some stuff together. But this segment presented by the Nerd Bar down in Neonopolis, second floor. Man, you know, Neonopolis is really... When I talked to the owner of Neonopolis a few years back, he was talking specifically about how he really wanted to like improve the entertainment aspect of what he's got going now. And now you've got, you know, what? There's another bar that's there that's more of like a dive bar, right? You've got a EDM dance club that's up there now. You got Alebrijes with the Hispanic culture and music and everything going on there. But Nerd Bar keeps kicking and moving, and Nerd Bar's got some cool events coming up. And one of these events, Johnny, why don't you tell us about what's coming up? Is it, June 8th?
Yeah, June 8th. We got Micro Maidens coming. So these, they're basically like dancers, performers, but there's dwarfs, little people. I think some of them are like 2 feet tall.
It says on here 2 foot 10 inches tall.
Yeah. Bridget the Midget will be there. A bunch of other special guests. So it's going to be really exciting. I'll be in Querétaro that weekend, unfortunately, so I'm going to miss this, but I'm sure Johnny will fill me in on what I missed out on. But this is going to be an amazing event. I think I have tickets online, and they're starting like at $22, $23, just so you know, Paul. You might get an invitation in the mail, so check your mailbox.
Well, Paul is muted, or Aaron's got Paul muted. Either way.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to pay full price if they're micro people, you know, so it's got to be half price or I'm not going. But a lot of them look very exquisite.
The guy is not charitable. He wants discounts if you're not his height. What else do you need there, Paul? Like, I mean, we got to, you know.
Yeah. What's the standard?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I've literally had it up to here with little people. I mean, you can't see where I'm pointing to, but right up to my knee. I've had it up to there with them. Just to be honest.
Caroline, you had no idea what you were coming into, did you? She had no idea.
I had no clue.
So
literally, a pigeon just flew in over our booth.
There is a pigeon.
Happening?
I don't know.
You guys see there's a
Paul,
pigeon, and then there's a lady
that joke
taking
was
the
so
trash.
that joke was so bad you scared the pigeon away.
What's great is that pigeon is actually just there to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
He's taking it all in.
Around,
He's taking it all in.
He's like, who's taking that pasta bowl? I might need to set up shop there. Like, he's looking to see who's going to be cooking like the best food, and then he's going to relocate.
Right.
That's a true Chicago.
He's
pigeon
scouting the premises. Yeah.
That's great. We got new comics coming out this week.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Brendan, for calling out that I did a callback to episode 3 with the exquisite little people. I'm guessing that's
No. It's I've had it up to here. You did that on episode 3.
Did I? Okay. Well, thanks for looking out. Thanks.
Hey, look, you know, a good comedian can recycle his material and make it just as funny as it was the first time you heard it. So, you know, we'll give him some credit there.
Well said.
New comic books coming out.
This is coming from the guy who doesn't have a tight 10 though, but works in comedy.
Wait. But that was the key word. You said a good comedian could do that. I can't do that, but a good comedian could. I'd have to agree with you.
Fair enough. New comics coming out this week. You got some notable releases. Looks like we're going to kick off with some DC stuff. And the first book this week, Superman Unlimited, #1. This is what? Dan Slott and Costa characters, but tell us more about this one, Brendan.
All right, so this is a series premiere, and writing is Dan Slott. Doing the art is Raphael Albuquerque, 2 big names in the industry. So this one should be fun. It says, when an asteroid the size of Metropolis hurtles toward collision with planet Earth, the Justice League dispatches Superman to avert the crisis, but a sinister threat lurks within that will change the world like never before, and this danger glows green. So that sounds like kryptonite. The last son of Krypton must risk everything to save his adopted home, the very home which now tries to kill him from complete destruction.
I'm underwhelmed by the cover. Superboy.
Oh, check out this variant, though. Check out the variant cover on this one. We got one from Sebastian Fiamara.
Wow. Much different. You know what I like about the logo that they're using for this? It's the throwback Superman logo.
You can tell by the S.
So I love that. That is great. This cover, okay, this is a great cover. This is a get this and get Dan Slott to sign this book, right? Because Dan Slott's autos on books are scale books. He's one of those guys that you can get his autograph on a book, and your book is very, very improved price-wise and value. So, yeah, I love this cover. That's a great call. Johnny, I'm sure.
No, classic cover. I love the S. I love the, it says a lot. It's an impactful image. I
And
love
that aesthetic a few years ago may have been whatever. I know this kind of sounds like maybe even a little corny, but the imagery of that S is going to be more relevant in 2025 going into 2026 than it's been in quite some time. I'm not saying we're going to have this major Superman renaissance, but there's going to be an element of intrigue surrounding the character, not just on the big screen, but that'll permeate all aspects of the character.
Yeah, whenever you have a callback like that, that'd be cool.
Right.
So I guess, Caroline, you're probably going to be moving to the a Supergirl costume if this really pops and gets going, right?
Yes, this season I'm typically doing the season 5 Supergirl from CW suit.
It's a great suit, and
She instantly called the variant. She was like, "Oh, that's the old logo, the original
that's awesome.
logo." I'm like, "What? It's an S. What's going on? It's an S."
It's not as angly.
Well, you gotta,
It's not as
Caroline,
angly.
you don't know this. Paul's a '90s kid, so that logo is just a little outside of his, normal understanding. So we completely understand. Now, if it was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Paul would know all about it, right? But it's not. It's Superman.
Well, that's what happens when you grow up in the '90s and the early 2000s. As a kid myself.
He keeps making himself younger and younger. We're not buying it.
Somebody just gave me a dirty look, like
Paul's
maybe I'm lying, but it is a fact. I grew up in the '80s.
Well, and speaking of
90s,
younger and younger, and then the older and older, right? Like this next book is kind of like the youth meets the elder, right?
Right, so this is Spider-Man and Wolverine #1. It's a premiere issue. Obviously, they're just mashing up two of their most popular properties here. Spider-Man and Wolverine team up for the biggest adventure in Marvel Comics. Who or what is targeting this unlikely duo, and what can they do to stop it? Get ready for a non-stop thrill ride of big villains, bigger threats, and even bigger surprises as Logan and Peter Parker team up against the machinations of a plot too big for just one hero. And I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, Wolverine is kind of like the last generation. Spider-Man's the one that everybody of this generation is kind of embracing. So it is kind of this generation meets the old generation and kind of pushing those two together.
I mean, you got monster characters right there. I mean, you can't get much bigger than Wolverine and Spider-Man.
You can make the case that's where Batman and Superman are to DC. I mean, kind of in the modern era, at least maybe at one point in Marvel's history, that wasn't the case. But contemporarily speaking, it's hard to top Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Yeah, then even on collector,
right,
in the collectible aspect too. I mean, those two books. I mean, all of the Wolverine, Spider-Man run has always been a hot run. There's been so many first appearances there, and then that run, if you bought that run from 10, 20, 50, 60 years ago, that just, you made a ton of money.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're set to go. And then the same thing with Wolverine. If you got big Wolverine keys, like Hulk 181 first full appearance. Sorry, there's an argument in the comic book world right now on whether 180 should be considered. Guys are just looking because they can buy 180 a lot cheaper than they can 181.
Yeah.
But that first full appearance of Wolverine is on the uptick again. Right, it lulled with everything else, and it's on the uptick again. Really cool. This John Jeong variant that you have. So let's go ahead and pull that in, Aaron. Okay, this guy's like work with things like reflections and how he like encompasses like lights and lightning strikes and explosions and stuff like this. I love this cover for that purpose. What do you guys think?
No, absolutely. There's I don't even know the right word to use, but there's a shine to it. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, obviously it's reflective, but there's a lot of art that does that. You know what? A lot of it's the color to me around the verses. There's an element of almost like this 1980s professional wrestling poster type of vibe to it in a way. Right.
Capcom.
Even Marvel.
Yes, Capcom. That's a Capcom. Yes. It's
Marvel's
good call.
Like there's definitely that type of aesthetic to it, and it looks really cool. You can almost like hear it. You know what I mean? Like it almost has like a sound effect or a music a score to it. Yeah. It's really cool.
Great cover.
Well, and I pulled the Virgin variant of this one because there is the one with the trade dressing on it, and it just takes away from the image so much. This one looks much better as a Virgin variant than the regular cover. This is like the Shop Fan Expo Virgin variant. So there's a Shop Fan Expo John Jiang. This is the Shop Fan Expo Virgin. This one I think is much cleaner than the one that's got the trade dressing.
This will be one that you will see slabbed in a lot of places. Go ahead, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Question, for those that, I mean, obviously I know what it is, but some of our listeners aren't that smart. Can you explain what a Virgin variant is? Because obviously my mind goes somewhere, but could you let us actually know?
So a regular cover has the corner box on it that says Marvel, and it's got like the issue number and the date on it and the price and things like that. And they've got that up in the corner, and then they've got the title and they've got the creator names. A Virgin variant is going to have just the image and none of that other stuff on it.
And the Virgin variants are really big in the autograph world. They're ones that people like to get signed. They get slabbed often, and you see them in a graded, comic book graded, case. This next book, what I love about this finally is that they've been trying to like rebirth Scarlet Witch, and maybe they just realized that the community that wanted to support Scarlet Witch stuff wanted Vision involved.
Right.
And so now they're going to give us a Vision in Scarlet Witch 1.
Right. So this is it's coinciding with the 50th wedding anniversary of Vision and Scarlet Witch. So it says, reunited under fatal circumstances, mysterious doors are opening all over the world, drawing people in with promises and miracles and reunions with lost loved ones. When Vision is mortally wounded, investigating the deadly truth of the doors, the Scarlet Witch resorts to extreme measures to save his life, and the results are unlike anything either of them expected.
What they did with the show, right, and how they did that, if they can even somewhat create a storyline that feels, very that flow,
right,
I think they might have a really good chance to get this to win. The one thing that Marvel female superheroes have never really been able to ascend to has really been that like big independent character,
right?
But
aside from crossovers,
whenever they're supportive, right? Like think about how big Black Widow is, but as soon as you got Black Widow kind of standing alone in her own, right, was not nearly as interesting, as strong as the character she is. Is there a specific reason in your mind, Johnny, that that's the case, or?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I'm not,
because like Catwoman in DC can support itself, right?
Yeah.
Wonder Woman. I mean, there's countless examples. I feel maybe it's because of the way Widow was introduced. Pretty much initially, her character was always I'm not going to say a sidekick, but she was kind of always a complimentary piece where, the backstory with Wanda, with Magneto, and the mutants and everything in between. Plus, this is a very prominent West Coast Avengers storyline, or at least it's kind of rooted in that very prominent West Coast Avengers storyline that goes into their children and all that. So it's kind of like a blast from the past. I don't know if there's there's plenty of iconic storylines that Widow's involved in. I don't know if there's an iconic saga or arc that is driven strictly through Black Widow the way it is with Wanda, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. And true, like there's just not. I wish the female characters had a stronger role, or at least could stand on their own. Like Harley Quinn, she's huge, and there's some of these other characters.
Jean Grey, the Phoenix. I mean, that's one of the most iconic sagas ever. I think a lot of it just depends on where they're placed, and more so than the gender aspect. And honestly, it could be the hero. Maybe the fact that there's several assassin spy type heroes that. Not saying that Widow doesn't stand out, but Wanda's probably going to be a little bit more unique than Widow would be in terms of kind of moving the needle with her own comic. So her own issue.
We keep sitting here, and Caroline, I think this might be really cool for you, is, we've been watching and how Marvel's been trying to roll this stuff out and get people like engaged, right? They gave Mystique her own standalone line. Storm has her own standalone line. Phoenix has her own standalone line. Magic has her own standalone line. Dazzler has her own standalone line. And every single time they've done everything they can to try to launch them characters off, but they just don't get it off the ground. What do you think? What do you think the difference between the DC female superhero and the Marvel superhero? Why do you think those two are there's such a difference in the market space on those two?
Sorry. I think some of it is that the DC female characters have been around in the comics and everything else and more prominent. I mean, really, Wonder Woman is the most, as far as the hero side of things, she was so much more well known and has been around for so much longer, whereas some of these female Marvel characters really aren't well known yet, and so the MCU and everything else is really introducing these characters to a lot of the general public, and so people that actually know the comics and everything else, I mean, they have opinions obviously about how true to the comics they are and whatever else, but I know, and speaking as a female in general, we're really excited just to see representation. And I mean, if we're being honest, Captain Marvel kind of saved the day in Endgame and basically defeated Thanos and his whole army. But I mean, everybody kind of crapped on her movie too. So I think the people that needed to hear it and needed to see that are those little girls, are those teenagers that are really struggling, the ones that now can connect with Kamala Khan because they're a person of color or whatever else, and they now feel represented. And I think there's just kind of a lot of obviously tension between diversity and inclusion and everything else, but it's still worth it. And sometimes it can feel forced, yes, but overall, it's still for the better. It's like some of the Star Wars movies. I mean, you could feel like they were trying to push a certain agenda, but at the end of the day, I'm still just excited to have another Star Wars movie.
Well, and you know,
or show, or whatever else.
When you talk about Star Wars in particular there, which, you know, kind of goes again, the female character in Star Wars has had a huge footprint because of what Carrie Fisher made Princess Leia be, right?
There's a precedent for it.
So right there, and you know, you're bringing up these points, and as you were talking and you were saying this, it just kind of got me thinking, you know, realistically in Marvel, do you know that probably the biggest female property is Mary Jane?
Well, that's what
She's not even a superhero.
And that's what I think a lot of it is because so many of Marvel, I mean, obviously you have it with Lois Lane and so on and so forth, and in DC, but with Marvel, so many of the prominent female characters are either the direct love interest or work in direct capacity to the heroes themselves, where they almost play a more pivotal part by not being a hero. I also think this may be just something I was kind of thinking of in the past minute or so. A lot of the notable, at least in recent times, you have multiple Spider-Women. You have Jane Foster as the Mighty Thor, right? A mantle that's already been taken up by someone else. You have like several different, multiple Captain Marvels, right? Carol Danvers, Kamala Khan, Monica Rambeau. They kind of share the title, where in DC that never really happens, right? Like Diana Prince is always Wonder Woman, the Hawk Girl's always Hawk Girl, so on and so forth. There may be some variations, some multiversal like tweakings here and there, but so often in Marvel you get multiple characters adopting the mantle over the course of time, and I think because of that the heroes themselves as characters stand out, but maybe the actual alter ego as the hero, or vice versa, doesn't as much because it's technically not a new hero.
Well, and
it may be a new take on it, but not a new hero.
What's funny is, we talked about Mary Jane, right? Then we bring up the fact this is Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah.
Well, the next book up this week, although it's not these characters, but they're tied into it, and they both support both of those verses, and that is Hulk and Doctor Strange 1, where you have a story in this that teams Aunt May Parker and Agatha Harkness.
That's awesome.
And Agatha obviously is the big protagonist against, right?
Wanda.
To Wanda, right?
Yep.
And then you've got May Parker, who, is super iconic just as a character, and once again, not a superhero.
Yeah.
And this cover in particular is highlighting the fact that these two are involved and everything here. Again, trying to focus on the female Marvel, character space. So, Brendan, tell us about this Hulk and Doctor Strange. I believe this is a one-shot, right?
Right. This is an oversized one-shot. It's 40 pages. Teams Dr. Hulk. No, it teams Hulk and Doctor Strange, and the backup story, as you said, is May Parker and Agatha Harkness. I can't talk. When Bruce Banner needs help, he goes to the only doctor who's willing to see him, Dr. Stephen Strange. Travel back to the origin of the Incredible Hulk with J. Michael Straczynski and German Herman Peralta as they answer the question, can you truly change the past?
You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like a great kind of setup to create a little bit of a baseline of what you might expect in Secret Wars with some of these characters. Like this sounds to me like this could almost be just like a quick storyline within
another
Secret Wars,
right? A bigger one, yeah.
And going back, and we also know too, and I think this is fair, right? That we know that Lou Ferrigno is making some type of cameo appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
So Marvel is very tactful, and they will put properties out to get you invested into it, to then turn around and have it show up on the big screen to you. So I don't know, but this book, Johnny, what's your take on this one?
Well, when they put that white border on the top, that bugs me. It always looks like a reprint. You know, in my opinion, you know, it bugs the hell out of me. I'm a big visual guy when I see covers, but yeah, Hulk, Doctor Strange. I'm a big Hulk guy, so anything Hulk, I'm always excited about. But you're right. There's a lot of different ways this can go. I think it's going to be a good read. I'm not a fan of the cover.
And that's what's cool about it to me, because kind of like with Spider-Man and Wolverine, this is kind of the case often with Marvel, but they are so compatible with each other for any type of storyline crossover, whether it be just in a bigger issue and in a one-shot that isn't necessarily related to them, but in a one-shot a longer one that's specifically and directly related to them. I think that's going to be an awesome read, because both of them are always trendy in terms of the more casual fans who may not read as many comics, but have followed the cartoons and have followed the movies. And then it's every bit as diehard for the ones who do follow the comics. They're two heroes who, whether you approach them more casually or from a more diehard standpoint, the appeal kind of remains the same.
Well, and I'd say with Doctor Strange, it depends on what Stephen Strange we're getting here. Are we getting the cynical Stephen Strange, or are we getting comedic Stephen Strange? Because if it's a comedic Stephen Strange, then that works great with Hulk, right? And, you know, if it's not, I don't know that it works so well unless, like, Hulk's just angry the whole time. Doctor Strange is pissed off.
It's like a foil.
You know, throwing everybody all over the universe and, you know, doing whatever he can to you know, show that he's not happy with people. There is a variant cover. Variant cover requires you as a shop to order 25 of the regular covers to be able to purchase this one and have it. This is the 1 in 25 variant. And is this Holtz? Is that right, Brendan?
Yes, Kyle Hotz, I think it is. I don't think there's an L in there, but it does have that annoying Chiron at the top. But I believe that like this cover is just so much more. I mean, it's just such a better presentation. I like the color in it. I like the action that's implied here. The other cover just seemed a little bit too cartoony for me for what the content of this book is supposed to be.
You know what I think on this, Johnny? Where's Spawn?
Yeah.
Doesn't this feel like a Spawn cover?
Yeah. Strange almost even looks like him to a degree, like with the way the cloak is kind of flowing. Yeah.
But doesn't he have a sentient cloak just like Spawn? I mean, that makes sense.
No, he does. Yeah, the cloak. Exactly. The cloak of levitation. Yep.
You know, again, this book is interesting to me, but I actually think it's more interesting to me from the side story, just because I think Agatha Harkness. I think that being there, she's somebody that could really be involved in like some of the upcoming like cinematic, you know, integrations.
But check this out. Brett was talking a minute ago about how a lot of the female characters are kind of side pieces or whatever. There's whole tropes that are written about that. Fridging is this awful thing where they just like they kill female characters just to like promote the main storyline for the main character.
Oh, 100%.
Like that. So
Black Widow
kind of feels like that. The only reason why this is a 40-pager and why it's extended is to get, you know, the Aunt May and Agatha Harkness story kind of shoehorned into this other thing. And, you know, Marvel does test the waters and put things out and go, how is this going to play with the market to see what they're going to do for TV shows and movies down the line. But it's one of those things where this would be a 22-page comic if it weren't for this thing they were trying to push on you that nobody would buy if it was just Agatha Harkness and Aunt May on the cover because of this whole thing that we do in comics with female characters.
You know, and
spot on.
It's funny because we're just talking about the new comics this week. We didn't have a topic on, you know, let's talk about the Marvel female character.
Right.
But in reality, when you start thinking about it more and more and more, you realize how little they're like supported as much as some of the others. I mean, Storm, obviously, if I had to argue on the
she's an outlier
side,
probably. Yeah.
Storm's probably the one. And even with that, we can't quite get her.
Because even, I mean, Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, is huge, but without the other three, how big is she? But that's the case with all of them. I mean, Reed Richards is pretty prominent in multiple storylines as far as his brain, but it's still in direct, you know, correlation.
And
with
he's
what
still not the Fantastic
Absolutely.
Four. The most recognizable character that probably is the most interesting to people is the Thing.
Right, and either way, the correlation with all four of them comes back to each other because that's one unit that isn't necessarily a team as much as it is a family, right? They really bring that whole first family thing home as opposed to the Avengers who are kind of all brought together, or even the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Thunderbolts. You can go on and on, but that's a very interesting point there because it's also that Widow that Brendan brings up a great point. Her most prominent storyline just on the big screen, we finally got her really a part of the swing of things and not just a helpful piece on the side in Endgame by making the sacrificial play. And yet even then it kind of applies to what Brendan's talking about because she dies, the male characters have to mourn her and then dust themselves off, build the gauntlet, and then kind of wrap up the movie. And even the most important thing she does in that movie is still kind of direct empathy to the male characters who now have to go on without her.
And that's just a recycled storyline from acquiring the Soul Stone and
Right,
Gamora.
right,
Because
absolutely.
Gamora was
The
also
same
scaled
thing.
up, and it was literally she sacrificed herself to get the
true.
better of the good to get them there. Which, don't get me wrong, these stories recycling like this are definitely. The next one and the final book for this week that we want to talk about, Ghostbusters Dead Man's Chest #1. Who you gonna call?
Sure. And this goes back to our Saturday morning cartoons kind of retro throwback that's been happening a lot. This one says, the Ghostbusters' increasing notoriety is throwing them for a loop. While Trevor steadies himself by trying to plan a friendiversary celebration for him and Lucky, Phoebe meets someone who might be a real friend instead of just a social media follower. But friendships new and old have to take a back seat to more immediate concerns when a ghostly saber summons the ghost of Captain Kidd and threatens to transform NYC into a ghostly pirate town. This sounds a lot like a Scooby-Doo adventure, but that's kind of where the 90s Saturday morning cartoons for Ghostbusters were going. They have these little mysteries and things that they solve, and they have a paranormal element, but this really just feels like a throwback to those Saturday morning cartoons, and we do have a cover for this somewhere.
As Aaron shakes his head.
Those kids always trying to spoil it. That's what Aaron's over there doing right now. He's literally doing the whole
shake your fist at the clouds. Yeah. Get off my lawn.
Exactly.
He's wiping his hands clean.
Yeah, he's ready.
He has conviction.
He's
that
ready
it's
to
not
pull
him.
a Brendan Allen and
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Well, he said you never sent it, which is okay. So
Aaron,
apparently,
screenshot the inbox, throw it up on the feed.
At some point, I felt like I should show our text thread because there's a lot of call-outs from Brendan on Aaron. So Aaron looks for any opportunity that he can
to counterpunch.
To tell Aaron to tell Brendan that he's wrong, right? So the fact that he can look back in the email and say, "Well, you never presented this cover to me," although I would argue that the producer of the show might want to look at the run of show and say, "Hey, I'm missing an element here, guys. I don't have this one." But then again, that would require him to read ahead, and I wouldn't want him to do that, right? I
do send these on Saturday or Sunday. He's had it for full 24 hours.
Okay, so Paul Vato calls himself out and admits that he just, didn't get up that day for your tacos.
Right.
And Aaron would like to remind you that he's never read an email that you sent. So
forget about reading ahead. In fact, forget about reading ahead. He's not going to read it at all.
He might actually have you going to spam and then just happens to look up yours on, Mondays when we film, so that way he can go ahead and pull any elements that you have in there.
Yep.
Which would explain why he's out of order often. Because there's a lot of times that he'll put something on the screen and we'll be like, well, that was actually the next thing to talk about, but since you brought it
That's
up.
the wrong convention. That's the one we're talking about in the third set. Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to call
anyway,
out last week. Like
it looks like a Scooby. Let me just tell you about it. It looks like a Scooby-Doo cover. It's got this ghost ship, I think, on this one, and there's a ethereal green crap in the back or whatever. It's a very Saturday morning cartoon. It is very reminiscent of, like I said, the Scooby-Doo adventures, but this looks like it's based on the older cartoons that were on Saturday morning.
Who's the creative team behind this?
Oh, well, my internet is, or not my internet, my browser is screwing up. Let's see.
Oh, you hear that, Aaron? What? Now he was blaming the internet. Aaron's over there nodding his head. If you could see Aaron right now, I'm telling you what.
Receipt. There's another receipt for Aaron.
Aaron is having the best 5 minutes of the show he's ever had.
He's like, it's all worth it.
Have you been able to tell that I can't read anything right now on my screen at all for the last 10 minutes here?
And Aaron can't read anything that you send
at all.
That looks like it. I would post that one. I think that works.
Take
Aaron's
a gamble.
Gonna take a shot right here to get that.
Roll
that
the dice,
cover up
Aaron.
here for you.
Okay. So the creative team on this is our friend David Boer.
That's who I was wondering.
The artist is Aviv Orr. Colorist is Chris Peter. Letterer is Jimmy Betancourt. Never heard of Jimmy, but the other three I know. David Boer does a fantastic job with this stuff. Look at that cover. I love that. That's
there
great.
you go.
So
it kind of looks
well
like
done, Aaron.
It looks like
Gamble
the
paid
Mexico
off.
Navy ship that crashed into the bridge a little bit.
Dude, you know what? Everybody's bagging on the crew of that ship. Did nobody see the tugboat that pulled them into the bridge? Like they were fully not under their own power. And everybody's like, oh, the Mexican Navy. And it's like, no, dude, that tugboat operator Bob just screwed them.
Yeah, some dude making $17.50 an hour just took out a bridge in New York.
Just going to work. Yeah.
And just destroyed a centennial Mexican fleet ship.
Right.
I'm surprised Trump didn't declare war immediately after.
I think it's the other way. I think that Mexico, France wanted.
Brendan always defending the Mexicans.
France wanted the Statue of Liberty back, and I could just see Trump being like, we'll send you the Statue of Liberty.
We'll give you the torch. Yeah.
And we'll give you the torch, and we're going to rename the Statue of Liberty to, I don't know,
the emblem,
the one shining light.
The emblem of freedom.
With no, the one shining light without
the torch.
With no torch, right? It would just be spot on brand right there.
Yeah.
Paul's got about 17 jokes in his head right now, I'm sure, because of all of this.
But we're out of time. That was the end of the segment. So
let's put a bow on it.
So it's been really fun. We're having a really good time on the podcast here and everything. Caroline, again, I know she stepped off camera, but thank you for joining us today. It was really cool. And again, I just want to make sure that you guys get a chance, whether you support her or your local cosplay group that goes out and does these children's visits, supports these other charitable organizations and gets involved with your community. Whatever you can do to support those people, please support them. These people spend thousands of their own hard-earned dollars on their costumes to go out for an hour and put a smile on a child's face. Yep. And, I always try to support those cosplay groups and be involved in those things.
And it's a lot of kids, believe it or not, that kids aren't like what they were in our day. We had to go out and talk to people we hated being inside.
Yeah.
We loved going out.
Go climb trees, scrape your knees, climb trees.
Yeah, so this is kind of a way for them to get out the box and be out there.
Socialize.
So I'm always commenting them, no matter what, what they look like. I always tell them, you look great, and have a conversation with them about their costume and their character. But yeah, it's a big deal to a lot of these people.
Well, and I think too, in fairness, I think Johnny and I have even gotten a much deeper, affection for those people.
Right.
Because of Fernando, right?
Well, no, not only that. A lot of our employees they love that stuff, and we see the struggles that they have. Like, oh, I'm building this costume, and 3-4 months down, ahead, they're planning for this convention, and they're like, oh, my hair came in, but it looks funny, and they get all sad. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you think of Clay with Spider-Man, and he's working on a new mask right now, and he's these things that he's doing, and he just does this as a fandom thing, right?
Yeah,
and he's great, by the way.
But
he's
you're
very,
right.
very good.
Our guy Fernando is a legend now.
Right.
In that
I was
world.
about to bring up Fernando.
Yeah.
Well,
Fernando with his box cutter and cardboard and markers and shit will make the most amazing cosplays in the world. That dude has got a brain that just sees how stuff comes together.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad we get to bring that up, because there's a project that I actually have him going to start working on, which is he is going to build me life-size Pokemon for PokeCon, which is coming up in September. And we're going to use them as an activation. So you're going to be able to go around the show. You'll scan the QR code. It'll take you to this the Instagram page, and then you're going to be able to post your photos on Instagram and then tag us back in it. And if you get all 6 of the Pokemon, you've caught them all, then you're entered in for a chance to win a really big prize pack thing that we're doing.
Sweet.
But PokeCon coming up in September 20th, 21st at the Ahern here in Las Vegas, just off the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara. We are going to be bringing out a couple of voice actors that will be joining us. Jay Groshi being the big one. He is the voice of Mewtwo. We also have Michael Barnard and the Gross Card Con that will be joining us. Michael Barnard is on our creative team and is working with us in regards to a bunch of things, including our VIP packages, which include a art card from Michael Barnard. So you got PokeCon mixed with the Garbage Pail Kid Collector community, where the creators will be out there, and it'll be a lot of fun. That weekend, always a blast. activations. Tickets available now. All you got to do is go to pokeconlv.com. So again, pokeconlv.com. Get your tickets there. And if you're interested in vending at the show, we do have vendor tables available. We do ask that vendors are 60% Pokemon. So if you buy 3 tables, it's fine. Just make sure 60% of those 3 tables is Pokemon, and the rest of it you can bring your other products, toys, comics, pop culture, games, whatever it might be. And I'm sure we'll have more announcements coming down the road. I know we're working on a few other voice actors to try to get it going. And then, guys, if you want a podcast like we have here with Who the Gets Frank or any of the productions that you see on the Go Live Vegas, you can make your way over to GoLiveVegas.com. Sorry, GoLive.Vegas. I got that wrong, but that's because it was on the screen and then it went away. GoLive.Vegas and get signed up. What's really cool is they are now here at Go Live Vegas a TikTok agency, which is awesome. So if you are worried about like how you're going to get clicks, how am I going to get views, how am I going to do this, come join the team here at Go Live Vegas. Start building yourself a production. And then you're going to be able to get pulled into the umbrella, and it's going to unlock things for you that normally don't get unlocked on TikTok until you scale big numbers. But because you're coming through the agency, it'll help you build up. So make sure you reach out to Aaron and the team here at Go Live Vegas. Get yourself set up. They can take care of it. Whether you just need someone to shoot your content, you want to host a podcast, you want to do a commercial, you want to build yourself a video program, you want to do something to make yourself your own TV show, it can be done through Go Live Vegas. And on top of it, the business is building and growing. And this step with TikTok is massive. And you're going to see a lot more involvement from TikTok and our involvement with TikTok. So make sure that you guys do that. So again, GoLive.Vegas, stop by there and get hooked up and get you guys a chance to get involved. Guys, Frank sent me a text today, and I'm going to read it. As May winds down, the last pages of spring turn with quite a promise. Summer is rising. This is more than just a shift in weather. It's a shift in energy. The long days, the warmer nights, the pulse of possibility in the air. Summer isn't a season. It's a tool, a resource, launched. With schedules loosening and distractions fading, you're looking to gain what many crave yet year-round, time. Time to think, time to build, time to double down on your dreams and sharpen your focus. This is your moment to rise above the noise, to make moves while others coast. Let the summer be the season. You gain ground, laying bricks for your business empire, creating systems, expanding your reach, and turning ideas into income. You've already got the vision. Now you have the time. Let the sun power your hustle. Summer is coming. Bring the fire.
Who the fuck is Frank?
You see,